Jamal Roberts!
What happens when winning American Idol changes not just your career, but your entire life? Jamal Roberts made history with 26 million votes, but the shocking truth is, victory came with a sacrifice no one saw coming. Humble beginnings and early struggles. Ladies and gentlemen, before the world knew him as the star of American Idol, Jamal Roberts was just a young man from Meridian, Mississippi, a city marked by high crime rates, limited opportunities, but also filled with raw talent and unshaken dreams. Born in 1997, Jamal grew up in an environment that was tough, sometimes unforgiving, yet it was in this very place that his character was forged. At just 2 years old, his gift was already undeniable. His voice first echoed in the church, where his grandparents recognized that their grandson carried something extraordinary. Their encouragement became the foundation for his journey, because outside those church walls, life did not always offer Jamal the same kindness. What many people don't realize is that Jamal's path to American Idol wasn't smooth. He had auditioned for the show not once, but twice before his eventual breakthrough. Both times, he faced rejection. Yet instead of giving up, those failures only strengthened his determination. He trained harder, refined his vocals, wrote lyrics, and performed wherever he could, from community gatherings to small church stages. These were the years that truly shaped him, not only as a singer but as someone with resilience and grit. His hometown, Meridian, played a dual role in his story. On one hand, it was home, the place that shaped his roots and identity. On the other, it represented the cycle of hardship that many young people struggled to escape. It was easy to be swallowed by its challenges, but Jamal refused to let that define him. He chose to rise above, to fight against the current. And so, his journey from the streets of Meridian to the glittering stage of American Idol was never just about talent. It was about persistence, about rising after being knocked down, and about believing that even when doors seem shut, there is always a way for those who knock louder. But, viewers, this was only the beginning. Because what happened once he stepped into the national spotlight would change his life forever. Idol journey and genre-defying moves. When Jamal Roberts walked into his American Idol audition, he didn't just step onto a stage, he made a statement. His bold choice of Mary Jane by Rick James instantly set him apart from the typical hopefuls who leaned on safe, predictable ballads. It was risky, unexpected, and, in many ways, a declaration that Jamal was here to break molds. That first impression resonated, not only with the judges but also with audiences who craved something fresh. It was the moment the world realized Jamal wouldn't be confined to a single box. Throughout the competition, Jamal proved this over and over again. He became a master of versatility, moving seamlessly from gospel powerhouses to soulful Motown classics, from Disney ballads that touched families at home to modern tracks that spoke to younger fans. Each week, he showcased not just his range, but also his fearless willingness to reinvent songs. His standout performance of Heal became a defining moment, not just because of his vocal delivery, but because he boldly added an original third verse, making the piece uniquely his own. That creative choice sent a clear message: Jamal wasn't there to imitate, he was there to innovate. The judges quickly picked up on this uniqueness. Carrie Underwood noted that Jamal makes everything his own, while Luke Bryan admitted he saw something in Jamal that set him apart from any contestant in recent memory. Week after week, Jamal's ability to surprise audiences turned him into more than a competitor, he became a phenomenon. And as the votes poured in, eventually shattering records with 26 million in the finale, it was clear that America wasn't just watching a singer, they were witnessing the rise of an artist who defied expectations. But with victory came a new reality, one that Jamal never fully anticipated. Because the moment the confetti fell and the crown was his, he would discover that winning was just the beginning, and that triumph demanded a sacrifice far greater than he ever imagined. After the crown, the major sacrifice. For most winners of American Idol, the day after victory is a celebration, a whirlwind of interviews, press tours, and the beginning of a glamorous career. But for Jamal Roberts, the reality hit differently. After the confetti had fallen and the cameras shut off, he returned home to Mississippi and attempted to step back into his old life. He thought he could continue teaching, inspiring kids in the same classroom that once kept him grounded. But within hours, he realized the truth: nothing would ever be the same again. As Jamal himself admitted, I went home and thought I could do the same thing. I found that to be a lie. The victory had changed everything. Fame had a way of closing doors he once thought would remain open. Parents, students, and even colleagues no longer saw him as Mr. Roberts the teacher. He was now Jamal Roberts, American Idol winner, a national figure whose presence overshadowed the classroom. With a heavy heart, Jamal made the decision to formally step away from his teaching role. It was not because he wanted to abandon it, but because the role itself no longer fit the reality of his new life. Yet Jamal's connection to education and his community never truly disappeared. He still volunteers when he can, returning to the schools where his journey began, offering both his time and his story as motivation to young people who see in him the possibility of breaking free from limitation. But make no mistake, leaving behind his teaching career was his first true sacrifice after stardom, a painful reminder that success often demands the surrender of the familiar. And this was just the beginning of his adjustment. Because as Jamal grappled with his new identity, another layer of pressure began to unfold, the kind that didn't just involve his career, but his family, his values, and his personal life under the relentless glare of the spotlight. Personal life under the spotlight. Behind the bright lights and the roaring applause, Jamal Roberts is not just a performer, he is a father. Away from the stage, his world revolves around his 3 daughters, Harmony, Lyric, and Gianna. For Jamal, fatherhood has never been secondary to fame. In interviews, he has spoken openly about how his girls are his true motivation, the grounding force that keeps him tethered to reality while the storm of celebrity swirls around him. But fame, as it always does, has a way of intruding. Suddenly, the privacy of his children became harder to protect, and the normalcy he once cherished for them began to slip away. The public began to see glimpses of his personal life, whether through social media or during appearances where his daughters were mentioned. And with that visibility came speculation, questions about how he would balance the demands of a global stage with the responsibilities of being a single father. For many, Jamal's devotion to his children became part of his appeal. Fans admired the vulnerability he showed when he spoke about them, often highlighting that beneath the rising star was a man trying to shield his family from the very fame that lifted him up. One defining moment came when Jamal was offered a symbolic key to the city in Mississippi, a grand gesture of recognition. Yet, in a surprising move, he declined the honor. For Jamal, it wasn't about rejecting his roots, it was about protecting the meaning of home from becoming just another stage for publicity. That decision sparked both admiration and debate. Some saw it as humility, while others questioned why a man so celebrated would turn away such recognition. But to Jamal, the answer was clear: his family and his integrity mattered more than ceremonial spotlights. Still, these choices only fueled further conversations. Would Jamal continue to put family and authenticity above the machinery of fame? Or would the pressures of the industry eventually reshape him into something different? As his music career began to unfold, those questions loomed larger than ever. Because if the personal life of Jamal Roberts was under the microscope, his artistic choices were about to face even greater scrutiny. New music and reinventing the brand. After the whirlwind of his American Idol victory, Jamal Roberts faced the crucial question every winner encounters: how do you turn a television triumph into a lasting career? For Jamal, the answer came not in rushing to release an album, but in carefully shaping his artistry, one single at a time. His debut track, titled Mississippi, dropped in July 2025 and was more than just a song, it was a declaration. In it, Jamal sang about home, identity, and longing, weaving a narrative that tied him back to his roots while also signaling his refusal to forget where he came from. Fans instantly connected with its authenticity, praising the way he resisted the cookie-cutter formula of Idol winners who often chased quick hits. Industry insiders noted the strategy. Instead of pushing out a rushed album, Jamal focused on building momentum, preferring to release singles that told stories in his own voice. It was a risky move in a business that thrives on instant gratification, but Jamal seemed determined to carve his own lane. He didn't just want to ride the Idol wave, he wanted to redefine what came after it. And while some questioned whether the lack of an immediate album might hurt his commercial trajectory, others saw in Jamal a long game that could set him apart. Beyond recordings, Jamal also made a bold move onto the stage. He joined the Boy Is Mine tour alongside R&B legends Brandy and Monica, an opportunity that placed him in front of thousands of fans who hadn't followed Idol but could now witness his power live. For a newcomer, this was both a challenge and a golden chance to prove he could command an audience beyond the television screen. By all accounts, Jamal rose to the occasion, blending into the tour's seasoned lineup while still shining with the raw authenticity that had carried him to victory. But with every step forward came new expectations. Could Jamal continue balancing authenticity with the demands of the industry? Would his patient approach to music release pay off, or would the fast-moving pop machine swallow him whole? Those were the questions looming over his next chapter, questions that would soon collide with the reality of fame's pressures. Challenges, questions, and what's next? With his first single released and his name buzzing on national tours, Jamal Roberts now faces the most difficult phase of his journey, sustaining the momentum. In the music industry, winning American Idol is only the beginning. History has shown that some winners fade into obscurity, while others manage to reinvent themselves as enduring stars. For Jamal, the challenge lies in staying true to his identity while meeting the industry's relentless demands. One of his boldest decisions so far has been his refusal to leave Meridian, Mississippi. In an era where most rising artists rush to Los Angeles, New York, or Nashville to chase opportunities, Jamal has doubled down on staying rooted in his hometown. He insists that his strength comes from where he grew up, and that removing himself from that environment would strip away the authenticity that defines him. But this decision has raised eyebrows within the industry. Can a major artist really thrive without immersing himself in the entertainment capitals? Or will staying in Meridian limit his reach in the long run? Another pressing question is his release strategy. By focusing on singles rather than a full album, Jamal is walking a fine line. Fans admire the honesty of his music, but some critics warn that the slow pace could test the patience of an audience accustomed to quick hits and constant content. In a business where attention spans are short, Jamal risks being overshadowed by newer, flashier acts if he doesn't deliver consistently. Still, for Jamal, quality appears to matter more than speed. He has made it clear that he would rather take his time than compromise his message. And then there is the balancing act between fame and family. As his daughters grow, the pressures of protecting their privacy while advancing his career will only intensify. Supporters hope Jamal can be the rare artist who manages to remain a devoted father while also conquering the stage. Yet, skeptics wonder if the demands of celebrity life will eventually force him to choose. These uncertainties form the backdrop of Jamal Roberts' next chapter. Will he be remembered as the Idol winner who quietly faded away, or as the man who redefined what success after Idol truly means? Only time will answer that. But one thing is certain, Jamal's story is far from over, and the path he chooses now could set the course for the rest of his career. A legacy still in the making. So, what really happened to Jamal Roberts after American Idol? The answer is both simple and complex. He won the crown with a record-shattering 26 million votes, but what followed wasn't a fairy tale of instant fame and fortune. Instead, Jamal's journey has been one of sacrifice, resilience, and deliberate choices. He walked away from the classroom he once called home, not because he wanted to, but because victory made it impossible to remain the same. He stepped into the glare of fame determined to shield his daughters from its harshest lights, choosing family and integrity over hollow publicity. And when it came to music, he resisted the temptation of quick success, opting instead to release singles that told his story honestly, even if that meant moving slower than the industry demanded. What sets Jamal apart is not just his voice, but his vision. In a world that often pushes stars into molds, he continues to insist on defining success on his own terms. Staying in Meridian, declining ceremonial honors, and choosing authenticity over convenience, these are the hallmarks of an artist who refuses to be consumed by the machine. It's a gamble, and the risks are real. Yet, perhaps that's what makes his story so compelling. Jamal Roberts is not just an Idol winner, he's a man daring to prove that you can chase dreams without losing yourself. For fans, his path sparks bigger questions. Is success measured by chart-topping hits and industry awards, or by the ability to remain true to who you are? Jamal's story suggests it might be both, and that the hardest challenge is finding balance between ambition and authenticity. His career is still young, and the road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is undeniable: Jamal Roberts has already changed the narrative of what happens after Idol. And as the world watches, his next chapter may very well redefine what it means to win.